Dude, so moving on from that initial phase when you were playing around, modifying pedals, amplifiers, and guitars, was that curiosity of yours also taken into this?
No. When I bought them ready-made, no. At that point, I was even scared. I said, I'm not even going to touch it. I already know what I've messed up in the past. I'm not even going to touch it. But that curiosity of mine helped me a lot. For example, I pick up a pedal and I can identify sometimes what's cool about the pedal, but also what I don't like. Let's say a pedal that has 60 hertz, 50 hertz that stands out too much. It's just that it's equalizer. Let's say the Q, right? Don't let me cut just that frequency. If I cut the bass, it kills a bunch of other frequencies. It even kills the low mids, right? So this pedal, for example, I already say this pedal is really cool. But it can be cool if I have a separate equalizer. So for me, it's not going to work.
I got it. I got it. And man, like this issue of drive is one. It's a really curious thing because people think that to have a heavy sound, they have to crank up the drive and boost the bass to give it body, right? Talk a bit about that, man, to get there. Especially because if you look at the albums from Oficina G3, the first album, which is Ao Vivo, is one level. The second album is already another, a totally different level. So when you keep following along, you reach a certain level, right? Dude, internationally, when are you going to? After the war there, man, he won the Grammy. It was this album, right?
That was the first album. Winning was after the war.
After the war. Because there you really, even today you listen and you say, man, the level there was on par with any metal band in the world. It's in the top 10, right? So like, man, you know very well what makes a drive sound amazing. Go ahead, explain it to the folks.
So what you said is really cool. Matthew, people, they just put on a... Actually, it's almost like autopilot. I need weight, so boost the bass. I need weight, so boost the bass. So go ahead, adding frequency, gain and drive, gain and drive, gain and bass, right? And bass, yeah. But that's not true. Because a lot of people really think that I play with a lot of drive, and I don't play with a lot of drive. If you look at my pedal board, you'll see that there's not much drive. Because there are some things that are like very important, right? There is a relationship. It's important to say this. The amount of drive with the strength that you play, that matters a lot because there are people who pick very lightly, and that's okay. It's each person's style. I already pick harder. I hit harder. So what happens if I put too much drive, it starts to bring in more dirt that I don't want. So the drive, when we get it, Van Halen, the CDs from Van Halen don't have much drive. There isn't, but there are some tricks. Right. When we record, we opens up the stereo with two guitars playing. So it's a combination of the two guitars.
That's in the album, right?
That's in the album, yeah. So that heavier sound is related to this. Also with that guitar doubling. So there's not much drive on this one and not much drive on that one either.
So you always double two. You don't take one channel and play it on both sides. No, you record with two guitars.
No, I record with the guitars. Playing the same thing, I got it. In some specific instances, at times, I create different lines on purpose. Sometimes I change the chord region, right? Or I make different lines. But in general, when I want the weight, I open up, record the left and right with two guitars, two amplifiers, sometimes even different amplifiers. I tweak the amplifier settings a bit to get that stereo feel, and that adds a lot of weight. And when you talked about drive, when you start adding too much drive, the drive compresses it. So you start to lose definition. So if you're in the middle of the chord there, you want to add a ninth, which is very common in rock chords, right? The ninth sounds good, right? Dude, no one is going to understand anything you're playing there. I got it. And another point, this compression in the middle of everyone that everyone is looking for, your space in the mix starts to flatten everyone out, which is the main problem with the bass. The guy keeps adding bass, 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 bass. On the guitar, it falls into the bass range. The kick drum ruins the whole mix, both on CD and live. So in general, we need to have a cut. The guitar needs to have a good cut, often in the PA. below 100 hertz. There's already a cut. Juninho, but the guitar ends up sounding thin. But overall in the band, it's going to sound really nice.
But that was something that took you a while. How long to understand? How many albums did you go through? You hear it there. Second LP from Oficina G3. There's Gloria, there are those classics there. What do you think while listening? Do you like that drive? It was already cool there for you. Because when you compare it to post-war, it's a leap, right? Dude, about sound quality.
I think each of them, it has its own characteristics. But let's think of it this way. I have a DNA in the drive, right? But I also like to mix things up a bit, right? So, for example, the post-war album, which is a CD I love, I really like that CD. It's a sound that's a bit more metal, yeah. In the metal sense, right? Yeah. So it has this slightly different characteristic, as you said, in the metal, right? Although it is kind of metal, right? Half metal, but not. So with such a sunken medium, because I don't like it, I like medium. So I already put more average, but Eros and Pompo, who were the producers, incredible producers, friends, ours, they also have this metal DNA. So that sound has a characteristic because it fits the proposal of that album. If you take the stories of bicycles, you will see that it is a little bit of a sound, more mid-focus. Right? It's a sound, which let's say is what I tend to use the most. If you take Humanos and Além do que os olhos podem ver, they're also heavy sounds, but it's not as metal as Depois da Guerra. What I mean is, with each album, I try to kind of tailor the proposal of the album without losing the identity. That's why I said I have a drive identity.
We're trying to analyze the retrospective. It's obvious that there, man, it was 95. What year was the live album? 90. Then the second one was 93. We wanted to look at it today with a 2024 mindset. You have to put it historically in that context, obviously, right?
Not to mention that the first and second albums were a mess.
I'm talking about the first and second albums because I'm bad at remembering names. Okay.
Me too, we're at home then.
So that's fine, right? Because people are like that. Man, ridiculous, he doesn't know.
It's the live album, right? And nothing is so new, nothing is so old.
No, like, why did I say that? 26. Because it was an indifference that has glory.
That's right.
And that's where I was talking to Juninho, right? Guys, that's when I met the G3 band. I wasn't a Christian back then, and I met two long-haired guys who were Christians and introduced me to it. My brother, you have to listen to this gospel metal band. I didn't even want to listen. I said, man, I don't even want to hear it, dude. It must be really bad. And when I got the album Indifferenza, I said, man, are you serious?
Then you're rough edges.
I was shocked because all my ideas about music and church were different, completely indifferent, right? Man, I grew up in a Catholic home. I made my first communion. There wasn't even a guitar, drums, or anything. It was just people with an organ there and maybe a little shaker. So I got this album here and listened to it. It's similar to the stuff I listened to, like when I started listening to Stryper and Petra, right? Those other bands. But anyway, I say that in 96, this album is a huge leap. Compared to the live album from 90, they were really crazy to record the first live album, right?
Man, that was crazy. First time sailor, right? Because when they offered, we were like, oh, cool, let's go for it. Let's go. Let's play our stuff. Found, brother. Man, that right there has no overdub. Nothing. If you pay attention, there's something cool. There's a song called Bome Luvar. And if you listen to the solo, you'll see that the solo is really popping. Because I was soloing and kicking the cable that wasn't working, it was cutting out.
Wow.
And by the way, at that time, even Indifference, I was like that, right? Literally, I didn't define any solos. Nothing. It was all improvised. Indifference was like that too. Indifference was all like that.
Really?
Yeah. The solo of Glory itself, the keyboard, I already put it in later. I did the solo by myself and then it would come into the song. The solo of Magic Mirrors, Paulo Ayea, right? That's the producer, my dear. He said, shall we play the song Mirrors? Let's go. Then he started recording. So I stopped in the middle and he said, but why did you stop? So I said, is it playing? Is it playing? No, I already recorded. That's why that part he's in. that I sang 2 tones lower here because I'm just too crazy. We had the second guitar coming in because I stopped, so you really took advantage of that, huh? The take was that one in the transition, but where did you stop, right?
Were you just playing the solo at that moment?
Yeah. He said, shall we go to the solo?
To the solo, okay.
Solo. Then he gave the rack. Then I came in. And when the delay kicks in, right? That second guitar with the delay. Okay. It's the... I can't get that tone across. Sorry, guys. DTT. We talk too much. You guys don't understand. Tell the guys who don't talk. But then what happens? At that moment of the solo, I stopped. I finished that. The measure ended. I finished. I did the bend and stopped it. Not to stop. I was recording. Then I said, seriously. And it went on and it went on. So it was very much like that. Then he said, and now? I said, no, there's an idea. Then I made that little theme, the little theme there with a...
That a second guitar came in. That's why there's a guitar crossfade there, this melody, which is like as if it were a very clear motif there. Didn't you have this idea at home?
No. Including the first time we recorded this song, we played it. No, we played this song. It was at church, and I heard a recording once, and I thought, wow, it had nothing to do with what I was doing. I only had one idea. Just to give you an idea, I bought a Digitech, a harmonizer. And I remember that I used to say like this, wow, I'm going to add a guitar with a third in this song and stuff. And in the end, I didn't use any of that. And I ended up doing this delay trick. And Paulo was a really cool guy in that aspect because he always pulled these pranks. Let's move on, shall we?
It's because, the musician is relaxed, right? Tendency is for you to play better.